Hello again. Now I'm going to show you a little bit on how to shade your eyeball. Notice your eye socket is more shadowed. It might look like you have a black eye when you start shading, but keep in mind that you really do have a darker shadow underneath your eye right here if you squint. Just don't draw a line because you'll look like an old person. But if you look, it kind of looks goofy. I'm going along the curve. I'm curving my pencil this way using the side of my pencil again. And if you look at my cheek, my highlight on my cheek is right on the apple of my cheek or my cheekbone. So you don't want to shade in that too dark. And then underneath, it's more shadowed. And again, I'm going with the curve of my face, the contour of my face, to shade in right down here where my cheek has more shadows by my jawline. But right now I'm going to focus more on my eye. I'll see that I really can't see my pupil that well. It looks a little bit darker, but I'm going to shade that in the darkest, and I'm leaving that little highlight. You can't see my highlight very well on my eye. Maybe you have one that's more obvious, but make sure you preserve that white. And then I'm going to shade in my iris. If you have lighter colored eyes, you will leave them a little bit lighter, but mine's almost as dark as my pupil. I'm going to shade this in. And then it's important to shade in your eyelid. Mine is very dark. I'm going to shade that in. And my eyelashes are just a thick edge with maybe a few little lines coming out, but we don't want any SpongeBob eyelashes that stick straight up, so avoid doing that. And then my shadows from my eye does come up onto this part of my eye, underneath my eyebrow. And then of course I have my shadow underneath. And I can use my finger to blend so it becomes smooth. Sometimes I use blending stumps. I don't like them so much because first of all, people rip them up so they unroll. But also sometimes they can get dirty. So when you shade, it actually creates more streaks. I can see some streaks forming instead of just blending it smoothly. So you can use a blending stump as long as you make sure it's clean and you don't try to add shadows. Like in my hair here, if I try to add shadows, you can see it's very streaky. We don't want streaks on our face. So be careful when you're using the blending stump because it can sometimes ingrain streaks into the paper, which we don't want. Hair. I'm going to go along how the hair grows with my pencil strokes. My eyebrow is pretty dark, but it does get lighter, so I'm going to erase that back out here. And on your hair, you'll find actually, in looking at this, I need to shade my eye a lot darker. So I'll add that after I finish the demo on the hair. For your hair, mine is a little bit hard to see because it's so dark, but what you want to do is look for dark shapes in your hair. If I squint, my hair is very dark in this picture, but it looks a lot darker here, and then it is lighter here. My goal is to shade in the dark shapes that I see. So I'm not going to try to create pencil lines to show my hair. First, what I'm going to do is shade in my dark sections, along with how my hair grows. So here's a darker section, so I'm going to shade this in. But then I notice here it gets a little bit lighter, and so I'm going to shade it a little bit lighter and maybe leave that a little bit, and it does come out this way. So you can go with the way your hair grows, but just keep in mind you're looking for dark shapes and light shapes, so it gets a lot darker here. So notice that it's dark here or lighter here, and then it does get darker in this there's a little triangle right here that is a little darker, so I'm going to shade that in darker. By looking for the big shapes that you see in your hair, the highlights, oftentimes you'll have a highlight at the top of your hair, you'll have more shadows by your neck. By shading in those bigger shapes, you can get the effect of hair without drawing every single little line. So we get the shadows and the highlights. There's more shadows under here. Happy shading, ladies and gentlemen.